Hi, I'm Tim Black. If you only watch one video from a candidate this month, let this be that video. This candidate has what it takes to unseat the notorious Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Yeah. She's a native Floridian. She's a lawyer. She's been fighting for folks to be able to defend themselves in our criminal injustice system. She works with women's groups and women's rights, the rights of poor, working people. That's what she represents. She's a progressive, not just in word, but in deed. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Perelman. Now, this video is going to pick up where we're having a conversation about Donald Trump and the real reason why he wants to open them schools up so fast. Roll the clip.
But no, we know why. We know why. You know, we can't act like we don't know why. We know why.
Yeah.
It's the money. It's all about the money.
Is that why you think that's why they want to reopen schools? You think that's the
that's also about crushing labor. They're all about crushing labor, and especially in the state of Florida. Remember, we're a right to work state here. So labor is very on the very low end of the food chain in the state of Florida. And I think that all of the force to reopen has been largely with the intention of squashing labor.
Squashing labor. And when you say squashing labor, does that mean that, without any incentives for people who can't get to work, who are unemployed or who have been laid off due to the pandemic, you mean they want people to be hurting? Is that what you're saying, Jen?
What I'm saying is that if they open up and they offer people their jobs back, that they will then not have a reason to be paying unemployment for these people. So they're essentially forcing labor to go back to work in unsafe conditions, because if your job is open, then you're not going to be able to claim your unemployment. You're not going to be able to get relief. So they're going to officially open. And that way, when you don't go back to work because it's unsafe, that's on you, and they have no accountability. That's crushing labor, because that's working people. Working people cannot afford to stay home during a pandemic, and they know that. So, and that's why in a state where there's weak labor rights anyway, it's just so easy to take advantage of this.
Well, look, folks, that's Jen Perelman right there. She's a lawyer. She knows her stuff. And you hear it in execution right there. She describes what's going on in Florida. Jen Perelman is running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. People are pumped up about it because they want a progressive. We've been fighting to get a progressive in that 23rd district there in Florida for so long. I've helped a couple of candidates. I've had my heart broken, Jen. Unbreak my heart, Jen. Jen, how are you going to do it?
I have too. I was a volunteer for Tim in 2016. I hosted his first house party. I was a big supporter. I did a lot of his research, his writing, like just stuff. And it was devastating, but that whole year was devastating, as you recall. Like that was just one nightmare. That was the continuing nightmare of 2016. But there's a few things that are in our favor, I do believe, that are different. Okay, first of all, 2016 was pre-AOC. This was right now, Medicare for All is a baseline at this point for a lot of people, whereas in 2016, it really wasn't. So we have progressed an additional 4 years in terms of most people supporting these positions. So they're even less radical now than 4 years ago. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we're very different candidates. Tim, very smart, great policy, definitely knows his stuff. There's no doubt about it. But I'm from this district. I'm a second generation native Jewish woman to this district. And it's a demographic that unfortunately is, there's a bias towards that in this district. There just is. And, he had only lived here, I don't even know how short of a time before running for office. Whereas I have roots here that go back 3 generations. So there is a difference, I think, in us as candidates. And then lastly, we have a new supervisor of elections that isn't, personally involved with and connected to Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So, there's a variety of factors, I think, but timing is everything.
Yeah, definitely different time. I think everyone can agree that there has been this move towards progressivism. Then we had the backdrop of the pandemic, as we were talking about earlier, where and we got the uprising that's happening with the defund the police, and people just being more active and I think more open. And my thing is, isn't that also a double-edged sword though? Because you're not going to be able to campaign like you would normally be able to do. You're not going to be able to get out and touch people like you would normally be able to do. I saw that in New York with a couple of candidates I thought were excellent, but on the stump, they would have killed it, but there's no stump. So how can you compensate for that part of it where you won't be able to route, really get the crowds going? I think that would be a strong suit for you.
It is. You know what? That is definitely going to be something we're going to find out at the end of this whole election season is, can a grassroots campaign succeed without really full on canvassing? And I am very proud of our campaign. We still are out doing service in the community, albeit with masks and socially distant, but we aren't having the same canvas game that we were. We definitely lost about 6 weeks where we weren't doing any sort of canvassing.
Not your fault at all. Not your team's fault, just the situation, right?
Yeah, but we have upped our social media, our phone banking, text banking. We are doing all sorts of things virtually. So I do think we've been making the most of what we can. I've been doing small business canvassing a lot. And what I feel about that is we go around and we promote all our local small businesses on our platform. So it's a win-win. It's me getting to canvas and meet people and talk to people. And it's also helping out small business owners during a shutdown to help them promote their business, because now I have a pretty sizable platform.
Jen has an excellent platform. It's progressive as progressives come. We're talking about Medicare for all. We're talking about ending mass incarceration. We're talking about environmental. We know that's big in Florida with Big Sugar. I've had these conversations with Tim, on and on and on about the damage that's done to the ecosystem there, the aquifers. I'm even familiar with that. Also, Donna Myers, she was running in Florida as well. She told me the same thing. It's the story of Florida, how they're deteriorating the environment there for money. Is that true, Jen?
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem because Florida not only is the recipient of all of climate crisis, just being that we are at sea level and we will be seeing rising sea level. So we're having it coming from everywhere around. But then within our own state, the industrial agriculture is really exacerbating what are natural phenomenon. So red tide and blue-green algae are things that do happen from time to time as part of, the cycle of life. But these are more nefarious causes or exacerbating those problems. It's affecting, obviously, our water and our critters and our ecosystems, but also tourism. So even if you wanted to talk about it from the economic perspective, let's say people didn't care about dead manatees, it hurts our tourism industry, and it's a massive problem. And what's happening, and what people don't realize also about sea level rise, is we are on limestone. We are completely on limestone. So as the sea level rises, not only is it eroding on the coast, but it's coming up under our aquifer, under our freshwater drinking water. So it's encroaching on our drinking water, and we're having less fresh water, and it's turning more brackish. So there's all sorts of problems here.
And as it pertains to the environment, is it that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is taking contributions from these companies or corporations, or is she in bed with them, so to speak?
Debbie definitely takes from really seemingly nefarious donors. I mean, the Big Sugar is one of her biggest donors, and they are one of the biggest industrial agricultural polluters in our state. She also takes money from NextEra Energy, which is Florida Power and Light. So it's fossil fuel industry. It's, so she is not heavily incentivized to really be taking the initiative or leading the charge for any sort of climate justice. She's just not in that position. Even if in her heart of hearts she wanted to, at this point, she just can't. So you're never going to be able to have somebody looking out for the climate if they're on the payroll of Big Sugar or fossil fuel. It's never going to happen.
Got it. It makes sense to me. What is it with the people of Florida? Do they want that? Do they want a candidate? They want a representative that supports all things evil? They want someone who's in bed with these corporations?
It's so hard, but she's been there for 16 years, and prior to that, she was our state house legislator. So essentially, she's been governing this area for a generation. And so it's a certain comfort level for people to where it's almost personal, and they don't really care about policy. They don't care who she gets her money from. And then a lot of it also is, don't forget, we live in a closed primary state with a very gerrymandered district. So the only way to unseat her is in a Democratic primary. It's the only way to do it. And also, if non-parties and Republicans were able to vote, if we had open primaries, she would have been gone 10 years ago. So this is how it requires very little to keep her there. And that's why they do it.
Disheartening. Got to get rid of her. Got to make the change for Florida. So the people don't care about the policies. What's a pain point for people in the 23rd district that would make them raise up, would make them and give them initiative to make a change to welcome in a Jen Perelman?
Well, what we've really been doing is focusing on the communities and the people that normally don't participate because they're disenfranchised and nobody's ever bothered to bring them into the loop before. So we're bringing in a lot of new voters. Also, we have a lot of students and first-time voters. So a huge amount of our people are young people, and I mean high school and college people. Most of the volunteers are in that age group, and they are angry and they are motivated. And they are not going to be any of her supporters. Her supporters are of a certain age. They just are. And she's also very capped, right? So she's not getting any new people. She's not going out there and calling up and saying, "Hi, it's Debbie. This is my plan." And people are going, "Oh, yeah." No. So all she can do is really rally who she has. That's what she can do, that base of people. And it's our job to bring in all the people that are not those people and skim some of her people. And that's what we've been working on for a year and a half.
I was looking at the fundraising. I'm concerned. What's your website address?
Jen2020.com. Right here.
Jen2020.com. Look, guys, Debbie Wasserman, I'm looking at here. She raised $1.1 million.
Look where it's from. It's all corporate. All corporate.
To Jen's 156,000. I don't know how recent this is. This was one.
No, that's Secrets. Old. We're actually between like 250 and 3 now.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. Look, and it's all small dollars. I get dollar donations from people that are just so desperate for healthcare. It's heartbreaking.
Do you think Debbie will have the courage to actually have a debate with you on a day that's not Sunday at 6 a.m. like she did Tim Canova back in?
No, and you know what? I won't agree to that anyway. I won't agree to do that. I won't entertain that. Look, here's the thing. Part of the problem, I think, with the strategy in 16 was it was very on the offensive and challenging her debate. Debbie dodges debates. Like, it was very, very hounding. It came off very bullyish, and it really turned off a lot of people in our district that may have been just more moderates, but they don't feel comfortable. And that really turned them off. So I have no intention of bullying her. But what's interesting is all of the clubs and organizations that host forums and panels with the candidates, they all act like our race isn't existing. So they do sheriff, state attorney, clerk of court. They'll do all these forums, and they don't even mention that this is happening. And for some reason, my race is the only one wherein the challenger I'm supposed to be trying to get her to debate me. That's not my job. That's not my job. And quite honestly, there's certain things that are not worthy of debating. For me to debate her on healthcare, I feel the same way about debating a flat earther. I do at this point, or a creationist or someone that just does not accept science in some way. I'm not going to debate these things, and I'm not going to sit down to a 15-minute pre-planned, know the answer. No, I'm not playing that game. So if she would like to have a real debate or someone wanted to host a real debate, bring it. But I'm not going to pursue it. And I honestly just don't see that it would be, if I were on her staff, I would never let her debate me. Never.
Yeah,
what
you're going to talk about,
say?
Right. You're going to talk about things that help the people of Florida. She's going to talk about, platitudes.
I call it the platitude sandwich. She gives you a very nice platitude sandwich.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not just her. That's, most neoliberals, that's all they got. They talk high and lofty about these feelings. Meanwhile, people are living beneath the poverty line, seniors cutting their medications in half, not taking the adequate dosage, young people loaded up with student debt.
When you look at the issues that people like her talk about, like right now, she's threatening to withhold money from the military bases unless they change the names from the Confederate names. And she's withholding money. And what's so frustrating about this is that she takes the second highest amount of money from police PACs out of all the Democrats in the House of Representatives. So when you want to talk about real reform and what really helps people of color, and you're going to make a grandstand virtue signal on the naming of the bases when you don't get, and by the way, she makes life harder for veterans in a lot of ways. So it's like the people that get hurt by those types of funding cuts are not the people in charge. so that's just this political theater, and it's extremely frustrating to me to watch.
Is there anything that she's doing to actually to try to show up votes? Is there any legislation she's working on that's popular?
No, because if you think about the niche of people that her type of policy, or even that she herself appeals to, mm-hmm. it's a group of people who all their basic needs are met in life. And when all of your basic needs are met in life, you can go getting up in arms about, things like, her 3 seminars since COVID that she has done have been on childhood drownings, internet predators, and scam artists. So never mind the fact that people can't eat, never mind the fact that they're approving money to go to a slush fund to corporations, never mind that people don't have health care, and never mind any of that, childhood drownings. And I'm not saying that's not important, but it really tells you the niche of people. She is talking to people whose needs are already met. They have their basic needs met. And I just don't think that's enough people that she's representing.
Doesn't sound like it. Sound like there'd be more regular people and disaffected voters that you pointed out earlier are the ones that ticket for you. I mean, she's not even speaking to their needs, as you stated. For the people, we support Medicare for All, Green New Deal, criminal justice reform. Wow. Healthcare is a human right. Our healthcare system is broken. Coronavirus. I'm wondering why more candidates aren't running on the coronavirus and the need for Medicare for All. It seems like a layup at this point. I got to see support, and as you stated, this is a closed primary, but I would have to see support for that regardless of the side of the aisle that you're on. What do you think?
And especially now, it's more and more people are realizing that having your health care connected to your employment might not be the best way to run a society. Forget the fact that we didn't have health care. We are in the worst possible situation to be handling this kind of crisis. We also don't have paid sick leave in this country. Again, it's a violation about how we treat labor. And so even if people were going to scrape together the money to go get the test, even get some treatment for their test, they're not necessarily getting the time off from work that they need to be able to do it. So it's our whole society is built. It's like a house of cards, and this virus is really showing that. That's what I think.
Yes, it is. It's now. I know that I don't know how you feel about Governor DeSantis. I can guess that you're not too happy about him.
We have a very low bar here. Just please know that, because we had Rick Scott. And I want to be very clear that when I say low bar, I mean like an underground bar. So honestly, no matter what Ron DeSantis has done to this point, seriously, we're still better off than we were. And that's just so sad.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
The guy didn't know how to put on the mask, Jen. He didn't know how to put the mask on.
No. No, he didn't. Was it upside down? Was it?
Yeah, he just put it under the nose. Like it was a bib, basically. I thought he was going to go for some seafood or some lobster.
He's basically mini Trump. He's mini Trump. He's there so that he can sort of hand Florida to Trump this year. That's why he's even sitting in that seat, is to hand over Florida and to keep as many people from voting. That's why he's appealing our Amendment 4, our returning citizens getting the right to vote. He's appealing that decision against what the people of this state want. And that has to do with disenfranchising voters and to get Trump reelected.
Yeah, I get that. I listen to him, and it sounds like he's just repeating whatever Trump says. He sort of just repeats it like a sycophant, and he doesn't really have a real explanation. Oh God, I saw a couple press conferences. I almost felt bad for him, because you could tell that he was out of his depth, even discussing the virus and what he planned to do about it. It was almost one point, Jen, where it seemed like he said, yeah, things are getting worse, but we're going to just keep doing what we've been doing. And we don't need to roll back anything, even though it's getting worse. He admits that things are getting worse.
Yeah, you couldn't make this up. That's why it feels like we live in a bizarro universe, that it's just so, it's a farce. We have become a farce of ourselves. That's what it feels like. And that's why, to me, I think Donald Trump is actually the perfect representation of what we have become as a country and how we are perceived in the world. We are the big imperialist, capitalist bullies of the world. And so who better to represent that? Like, it's comical in a very ironic way, but honestly, it's like how the fact that people are shocked that he's still the person in charge, they don't like looking in the mirror. People don't want to look in the mirror. I personally, I knew he would facilitate the revolution.
Yeah. And talking like that gets you shunned, though, Jen. They got Susan Sarandon on that one when she said,
I think Bernie Sanders probably would think this.
I think Bernie would probably encourage people because he doesn't have any ego in this thing. But I think a lot of people are sorry. I just can't bring myself to do that.
How about you personally?
I don't know. I'm going to see what happens.
Really?
Really.
I cannot believe that as you're watching the rise.
Well,
Donald
some
Trump
people feel Donald Trump will bring the revolution immediately. If he gets in, then things will really,
Oh, you're saying the Leninist model of heighten the contradictions?
Yeah. Some people feel that.
Don't you think that's dangerous?
I think that what's going on now, if you think that it's pragmatic to shore up the status quo right now, then you're not in touch with the status quo.
That very obvious thing. He's going to be so repugnant, people are going to rise up because of him because he's so horrible. That's what she meant. I'm sure that's what you mean. You didn't
and
mean
it
you
is,
wanted
and that
him to
is,
win.
and it's what's happening. And you can see it. If Hillary Clinton had won, many more people would have put their heads back in the sand and would not be paying attention at the level that they're paying attention now. And it's forced people to really take a good look. And it's been exposing a lot of flaws that have been there before, but they were just handled in a much more discreet way. And so, there are certain advantages to us seeing that now. If people would just get out of fear mode and into solution mode, we could, maybe get somewhere.
Okay, Jen, let's say you get elected. Let's say that the 23rd district comes to this census. They realize it's time to make a change. They get you in. What's your plan? What do you want to do? What do you want to get done for the people?
Well, I mean, like you said, our top 3 priorities are Medicare for all, Green New Deal, and criminal justice reform. And obviously, when you're talking about a progressive breaking through and getting in, there needs to be more of us to really see policy go forward. I mean, we can't be delusional and think, okay, I get in, and so all of a sudden we're getting Medicare for all. But it's one more voice, one more platform, and somebody who will do everything that they can to keep bringing in more of us and get more of us in. Quite honestly, it's somewhat disappointing to me that the people that are in there don't do that more in terms of helping get more people, bring them in to help. It's hard to know who's playing a game as far as what their career options are. And I don't even say that from a judgmental point. I mean, everybody's got whatever their goals are. And so it's hard to know. But I know for me, I do not see this as a career. So all it is for me is a platform to be loud. And I am an extremely loud person. So, I don't know if you ever watched, I love Katie Porter. Do you ever watch her ever go after some of those guys on the hearings?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of clips of her on the Hill giving them the business. I like when she does that.
Our intent is to make sure every American gets the care and treatment they need at this time of this major epidemic, and I'm currently working with HHS to see how to best operationalize it.
Dr. Redfield, you don't need to do any work to operationalize. You need to make a commitment to the American people so they come in to get tested. You can operationalize the payment structure tomorrow.
I think you're an excellent questioner, so my answer is yes.
Excellent. Everybody in America hear that. You are eligible to go get tested for coronavirus and have that covered regardless of insurance.
Yeah, and that's the and she's legitimately doing that. It's not the pre-torn paper and it's so there is a certain amount of just using this platform to get more people engaged, get more people involved. And something that we've done, this has been a service campaign I'd say for the past 10 months, where all our volunteers do community service. We do Feeding South Florida now. We've done a lot of different things. And now it makes me wonder, why don't representatives have their own little volunteer armies that are doing community service? And it's so easy to do. These kids need service hours. It's not hard. I could do it as a candidate. Why do our representatives not have volunteers going out and doing the park cleanup, the beach cleanup? Why are they not taking the lead in this concept of service? And I think a big part of that is that to them, it isn't a term of service, it's a career. And that's been the whole point of our campaign from the beginning. I have no intention on this being a career for me. It really is something that we want to get the corporate money out. I love the idea of mentoring the younger people. Groups like the Sunrise Movement, these kids is where it is at. That is where it is at. And so these are the people that I want to bring in, not keep out. And so I see myself in some ways as sort of not an intermediary, but I feel like I have one foot in each place. Like I can get along with establishment because I am of an age and a generation that I can blend in with that too. I'm Gen X, but yet I am completely in with the millennials and the Gen Zs in terms of policy and what I want to do for them. So it's like I'm a good person to put in there for them. That I know the words, I know the language, I have the background. I'm doing it for those people and for the disenfranchised and the people that don't have a voice, and the more of people we can get in that want to do that, we can all come to arrangements as to what's the best way. That's what I think. Like, we don't need to agree on everything. We just need people that want everybody to live well and have a life of peace and dignity. This is not rocket science.
There it is. There it is, Jen. Folks, go to jen2020.com. She's smart as a whip. She knows what she's talking about. She's a lawyer. She's got the right politics. Check out the website. I did. And it jumps out at you. She's down with getting big money out of politics, a crucial issue. Anybody comes on this channel, on my channel, that's what they stand for. And she just plain spokenly gets it. She gets it. So that's why she's here. Thank you, Jen, for your time. Jen2020.com. Anything else, Jen? Anything I'm leaving out?
I just want to say that you guys can follow on Twitter and Instagram at JenFL23. And also, if anybody likes what they hear, we are still gathering a phone banking army of volunteers. So you can sign up at Jen2020.com, and it's easy, and you can do it from home, and we need help.
Wow. Thank you for your time, Jen. It was great meeting you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's it. I love you. I'll see you soon. We can't just sit back and say we want change. We got to be the change. Go to Jen2020.com. Volunteer, donate, support Jen Perelman. Help her defeat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Do it now. Wolfpack.